Gautam, congratulations again. Making it to the ISB, that too under a EEO, it's not a small feat. I'll tell you, there are very few percentage of students they take through that route. Okay, and if you have made it, then you have it in you. Okay, and thank you very much for doing this. As explained before, this is essentially for people who are applying under the EEO route, for them to get a understanding of how was your journey, and what can they learn from you, and how do they prepare when their application journey starts. Okay, so let's start by understanding your academic and professional profile.
So about my academic profile, so like a lot of people, I'm a engineering student and I've pursued my chemical engineering. It's not a very popular field per se with the field of tech computer science going on nowadays. So I've done a chemical engineering from Institute of Chemical Technology, ICT in Mumbai. And post that I have joined as a chemical engineer and I am responsible for all process engineering at SRF, which is a Indian conglomerate, and I currently support all the engineering activities here. And
Okay.
I have graduated in 21 and I will just complete 2 years in August.
Beautiful. So, a chemical engineer with less than 2 years of full-time work experience, it must not have been an easy application to build. What were your application strategy and primary focus area when you were making your application?
Yes, if you look at ISB, it has an average experience of more than 4.5 years with a minimum criteria of 2 years. So obviously you do feel as if the ones who are elder to you, they will have more knowledge and more experience to share. But my simple strategy was to concentrate on my strengths. So what ISB does is, in its application, it asks you two main questions. So one was about how I can contribute to the class. So that is basically trying to know what my strengths are and trying to project it through some examples that I can bring that to the class. So I had a deep introspection into myself and my profile and what are my skills. And during that introspection, it involved through my college days, even during the job. So from that, I formulated whatever my strengths are. And after that, I came up with a structured answer for my first question, which was what are the things which I will get into the class. And the second question that was highlighted in the ISB essay list was the short-term and long-term goals.
Long-term goals.
So yes, that is one point after discussing with a lot of people. It was that ISB or any business school for that matter, they want a candidate who has a clarity in their goals. So my point was to be trying to make a logical story which will be very suitable to any person who hears it. So my strategy in the short term and long term goal was mainly to try and understand what are the futures that are available after management and which profile most suits me. And maybe that was just it. So basically trying to relate it with SA1. So what are my strengths,
right,
what are the future options, and how I can get a good link to anyone who reads my application.
Right. And, you went through mock interviews and strategy sessions and counseling sessions with different people. How was your interaction and how did these sessions help you streamline your thoughts?
So if I would say these sessions were very, very important because when you go to an interview, there are many things that matter and one among them is confidence. So confidence basically comes when you are aware of your strengths, weaknesses, and whatever possible questions are there. So what happens is during these sessions, you get a lot more clarity about what you can expect and how you can be prepared for them. So among these sessions, I got a very broad view. So one answer I tried for different people, it may not give the same outcome.
Indeed.
That you get to learn and then you get to fine tune your answer so that they'll be such that it will be good for almost any interviewer. And one more thing which I thought was, it's not necessary that you should have all good mock interviews. I had a couple of really bad ones, but in hindsight, when I think of it, those were the ones which helped me learn the most. So the bad ones actually made me think a lot more. Since I thought a lot more, I came up with better solutions. Like times it just happens. So I think that is a very important thing. So when you come get a negative feedback or a not so good feedback, you can work on it, and during the actual interview, you will be far better prepared and you'll have a greater chance of going through.
Absolutely. And how was your experience interviewing with ISB, and what were the key areas of discussion during the interview?
The interview was quite, to be honest, very good. So in good in the sense, not necessarily the question part, the way it was conducted. So it was a very friendly interview, to be honest. I was actually made quite comfortable. So there were two panelists, and we were in a room. So when we entered,
Were they alums?
Yes, they were alums.
They were alums, right?
Maybe 5-6 years elder.
Right.
So it was like a very friendly interview. They engaged in a conversation. So that was good. And another thing I thought was they were willing to listen to my story. So when it happens, it's a very good thing that you feel that you want to speak more, you want to be more natural. So that was one good thing. And among the key focus areas, I think it has been very clearly mentioned on the ISB website what they're looking for. So one, they look at your work experience. So in my case, since it was a little lesser, and I'm from the background of my graduation, there was something related to my graduation and what work I do. So one of the panelists was of a very similar profile to mine.
Okay.
And he did ask me some questions which are related to my work. So that was one thing. So they do look at work experience, what you work, and how good you are in what you do. So that is one thing. Secondly, as it was always mentioned, your long-term and short-term goals. So that is one point which we had already listed in the application. You have to try to be consistent with what you have written in the application. And thirdly, I guess they looked at what leadership potential you have. By leadership potential, I mean they just look at your soft skills in the sense at work, not necessarily whatever you do, but how you help maybe others grow, or if you manage people, how would you manage? What is your attitude? So those sort of things. So they judge the leadership potential through that. So I guess there are three things.
Right. Excellent. Great. One last question before we wrap up. What will be your advice to prospective EEO applicants who will apply to ISB?
My simple advice would be to just try to be yourself. An introspection will be definitely needed before you write any application. So I'll suggest that anyone who wishes to apply devotes a good amount of time to that application, because on the face of it, it might just seem as 2 essays, but those are what the application committee or anyone who reads it about you, that is the thing from which they're going to judge you. So I'll want everyone to give a deep introspection, to know their strengths and to project them in a very proper manner, in the sense they should be logical and there should be examples to support them. So if there are examples or some of those sorts, what will happen is your credibility of those things will definitely increase. So that is the thing. Introspection is another thing. And definitely, as I said before the interview, I think everyone should go prepared, because directly going to an interview, maybe some are really good, but for most people, if they have any doubts, they should enroll for something, or at least have a feel of what an interview is, because otherwise at the last moment there might be some tensions or anything.
Right.
So like even after mock interviews there will be some pressure and tension, but there is always that feeling that I have prepared to my best, I know what is going to come, what can come, and in that case it definitely helps to perform better on the day.
Excellent. All right, Gautam, thank you again, for doing this session with us. It will go a long way to basically help students, who are applying under the EEO.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you very much, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you very much.